All right, everyone. The Catholic Pope took ill a few days ago with double pneumonia, apparently, and is currently in critical condition. Now, he made it through the night, although they said it's still a little bit shaky. Considering I believe he only has one lung, getting pneumonia is a little bit of a problem now, isn't it? Now, here's my thoughts on Pope Francis. Most Catholics that I've spoken to, if they are more traditionalistic, so they're not more on the liberal side of Catholicism, that is, they're more orthodox in nature, are not particular fans of him. Could it be the whole open up your borders and build bridges, not walls thing, while living in a Vatican surrounded by a huge stone wall? Maybe the hypocrisy angle is part of the reason why. Could it be that time that he declared himself to be a Marxist? I don't think he meant it in the stateless sense, considering he's literally the emperor of a city-state. That could probably play a role. Yeah, that might play a role. Could it be the complete departure from canonical tradition within Catholicism? Yeah, I think we've isolated several reasons why. They call it Vatican II for a reason. The idea is that he's basically a pretender of a pope. That is, if you're abandoning and this happens in Catholicism routinely, so I don't know why anyone practices the religion anymore. Over time, popes have repeatedly changed the canonical laws of the religion. It's almost like God is changing his mind, so to speak. This has begun to irk people. Now, in the old days, of course, with the Pope being effectively, if not infallible, de facto infallible in most action. And then you have a series of medieval and Renaissance era popes that were misbehaving badly, and by modern standards would be considered completely immoral. We'll get into that. I've touched on it briefly before. Look up the Joust of the Whores if you want to see something really funny. Over time, things changed. But, people were just like, well, it's the Pope. He do whatever the fuck he wants. I'm a Catholic. These days, though, with electronic communication, with rapid-fire news cycle that lasts 15 fucking minutes at most, people have become more aware of sort of the disposition of not just Pope Francis, but also of other, clerical individuals. Like mega churches, for example. 100 years ago, 50 years ago, let's say you have a mega church. You've got the Church of the Silver Dollar, basically. And the minister, says stuff that's not biblical, etc., is whoring around, is snorting coke and stuff like that, and hoarding money. This has happened a number of times. Just look up Ted Haggard if you don't believe me. And people wouldn't question it because it was part of the culture of what was then the United States. This is talking mostly about like U.S. evangelism. You're not supposed to question the minister. And then the abuse scandals started happening. And then the drug scandals started happening. And people started to question them. Again, sunshine is the best disinfectant. People became aware more of what the hell was going on. Sometimes because critical voices from the outside looking in were able to expose what was going on. This is the case with the Catholic priest abuse scandal. It's not even just within religion. Look at the educational system. There's been plenty of abuse there, but you weren't supposed to question teacher. And that stayed true up until basically the 2000s, and then all of a sudden people realized how shitty some of the teachers were, and there were a bunch of exposés, etc., and the public became aware, and they demanded accountability. The same is true within Catholicism at this point. You've had lots and lots of bad behavior within the Vatican over time, and with the Avignon popes, of course. You had one pope, and it was, I think, only in his 20s at the time somehow. He got crab hammered in the skull and killed because some dude found him fucking his sister. You had another pope who couldn't get his feet kissed because he had syphilis sores all over them. And that was associated mainly with male prostitution at the time. That might have been a scandal. And then the famous Joust of the Whores, where the Pope at the time was throwing chestnuts on the floor and they had the prostitutes groveling after them and snorting like pigs, and then had a contest, drunken contest, of course, probably with other substances attendant, to see who could fuck the most prostitutes. And of course, they weren't using protection, so plenty of people were getting sloppy seconds. Oh yeah, you've got plenty of cum in you already. Well, I guess it doubles as lube. I wonder why they had a lot of sexually transmitted diseases back during that era. So the idea of papal infallibility, well, it's not absolute. For non-Catholics, a Catholic can probably maybe tell you about that. Although I would note, a lot of times, people outside of a religion know more about it than the people within the religion. Some people choose to be ignorant, or they just don't have time to study it, and, they're not inclined and stuff like that. I know a great deal about Catholicism. It's funny because I saw a documentary about Hinduism one time, and I think it was about the sunken city off the coast, and they were talking about the Bhagavad Gita and so forth. And one Hindu minister or priest or whatever you would call them was complaining because he's like, well, I mean, these white people come here, they're not even Hindu, but they know more about our religion than the average Hindu does. This is the case with pretty much every religion, by the way. Most Muslims have never really truly studied the Sahih Muslim or the Sahih al-Bukhari, for example. Yeah, there's a reason why religious leaders want you to be ignorant of your own religion. Pro tip, it's not because they want you to be enlightened or anything like that. A lot of Buddhists don't know much about the Tibetan Book of the Dead, for example. But, yeah, so Francis is in critical condition. He may or may not survive. If he doesn't, of course, the cardinals have to elect a new pope, and then I'm sure we'll get 24/7 coverage of the building and see whether the smoke that goes up is black or white, and there's a lot of pomp and circumstance involved with that, a lot of ritualism. Again, look up high church versus low church if you want to open your eyes to the truth of Christianity, by the way. So, link in the description, archived, of course. You have quite a few live updates going on. He made it through the night. He's still in critical condition. He's being heavily oxygenated. Again, I believe, again, he only has one lung, if I remember correctly, so we'll see what happens with that. I always use the lowercase, by the way, for Pope. It's an honorary title, and I do not believe that this individual deserves that title. I note that I agree with many Catholics on this particular issue. It's also in the United States, oftentimes it boils down to partisan loyalty, or liberal versus conservative ideology. For me, it's more like the dude declared himself to be a commie. Yeah, he cares about people very, very much. The one distinctive thing about him is that apparently back when he was just a bishop or cardinal or whatever the hell he was down in South America, he would occasionally sneak out incognito and give alms to the poor. So, okay, everyone's got a redeeming facet unless you're Albert Fish or, well, technically, I mean, he never abused his kids apparently, so I guess that's his redeeming quality. Or Pol Pot. The two most evil men in all of human history, in my opinion. Just saying. That's about all. Peace out.